Hi Yvette, for this question, question 14 in your Unit 7 homework, we're asked to graph the system of inequalities, and the first inequality represents a parabola, and then the second is a line. So if we look at the parabola, y is greater than or equal to x squared minus 4. To graph this quadratic inequality, we first want to find the vertex, and then we want to find the x-intercept. So we'll just plot the vertex and the x-intercept in MyMathLab, and then MyMathLab will automatically graph the parabola for you. So to find the vertex is in the form negative b over 2a, that's our x value, and then the y value of the vertex is just f of negative b over 2a, which means we'll evaluate the inequality at the point of x. So first you'll find negative b over 2a. So negative b, remember quadratic formula is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So b is the value in front of the x term, and we don't have an x term in this equation, so our b is 0. So this is negative b, or negative 0, over 2 times a. A is the value in front of the x squared term, and that is an imaginary 1. So 2 times 1. So we have negative 0 divided by 2. 0 divided by anything is just 0. So this becomes 0. So that means the x value of our vertex is 0. Now we're going to plug a 0 in for x in the original inequality and solve for y. And we can change that inequality sign to an equal sign since we're solving. And we'll say y equals 0 squared minus 4. So that's 0 minus 4 equals y. So y equals a negative 4. That means that our vertex is 0, negative 4. And I believe you came up with that one for this problem. So that was correct. That's your vertex. Now we want to find an x-intercept. To do that, you plug in a 0 for y and solve for x. So we have 0, because I'm substituting a 0 for y. So 0 equals, and I'll change the inequality to an equal sign because I'm solving. So 0 equals x squared minus 4. I can add 4 to both sides, and you get 4 equals x squared. We can take the square root of both sides. When we do that, we need to add a plus or minus sign next to the whole number. So I have the square root of x squared, which is x, so x equals plus or minus the square root of 4, which is 2. So this could be a positive 2 or a negative 2. So that means that my x-intercepts, the ordered pairs, are 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. Okay, so this is the final answer that you'll get after you complete the problem. But I just wanted to show this to you because it shows you the graph of the parabola. And we're just going to look at the graph of the parabola first, and I'll talk about it. So we want to plot the vertex at 0, negative 4. So 0, negative 4 is this point right here. See, hopefully you can see that. It's this point here. And then the And then we'll plot one x-intercept. In my math lab, you only need to plot the vertex and then an x-intercept, just one x-intercept, and then my math lab will automatically graph the entire parabola. So you'll graph the vertex at 0, -4, and then we'll plot one x-intercept, and I'll choose 2, 0. So you go to the x-axis, and notice that this counts by 1, so this is 1 and 2. So 2, 0 would be this point here. Now I also want to point out that the scale is a little different on the y and x axis, so you need to pay attention to that when you're graphing your points. That may cause your answer to be incorrect. So if you look at the x axis, we're counting by ones here. Each block is 1, but then when you look at the y-axis, we're counting by 2's. So this would be 0, and then -2, and then a -4. So after you graph the parabola, you want to graph the linear equation. So we have x minus y is greater than or equal to -2. We're going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So first you'll just change this equation so that there's an equal sign instead of an inequality sign. And then to find the x-intercept, we're going to substitute a y or a 0 for y and solve for x. So I have x equals -2. So that means my x-intercept is -2, 0. And then the y-intercept, to find that, we'll just replace the x with a 0 and solve for y. So you have 0 minus y equals -2. So you have -y equals -2. Divide both sides by -1. So we have y equals -2 divided by -1, which gives us a +2. So the y-intercept is 0, 2. Okay, so we're going to look at the final answer again, and this time we're just going to look at the line here, which is the linear equation, and plot our x and y intercepts. So the x-intercept was at -2, 0, so you just go to -2, 0, and you'll plot that point in my math lab, and then you'll plot 0, 2 for the y-intercept, and remember the y-axis counts by 2, so 0, 2 is actually right here. And then you'd connect the lines and draw a solid line since there's an equal to sign underneath it, and plot that line. Now I'm not going to go over the shading since your question only said that you had difficulties graphing the parabola. So we'll look at what you graphed for the parabola and then the correct answer in just a second. But I did want to mention that you'll need to choose a test point for each one of these inequalities and then shade the overlapping point. So once you choose a test point, you can see that you would shade below on the line, and then you would shade on the inside of the parabola, and so of course the overlapping would be in the middle here. All right, so here we have the correct answer and then your answer. And as you mentioned, your parabola is a little bit more narrow than the correct parabola here. And I'm not sure if that's because you didn't look at the scale of the y-axis. That might have thrown you off just a little bit. I see that you plotted points 1, -3, and -1, -3 on the graph. So if you do that, -1, -3 would be here, and 1, -3 would be here. So if we go to your graph, we would have -1, -3, which is here, because remember the scale counts by 2. So this is really -2, and so -3 would be the halfway point. So we would have 2 points here, and then you would graph your parabola. So I think that was the issue. You might have just not noticed that the y-axis counts by twos instead of one. So if that was the issue, then just pay attention to that on the next question. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me back and we'll try to clear it up.